Shalom Israel. First and foremost, I want to say all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to you brothers throughout the four corners of the earth, teaching the truth in righteousness and sincerity. To you Israelite foreigners, come back home to the truth. To those that passed away serving the Lord, the dead in Yahweh Shai shall arise first. All right, I want to do this video. It's a book report about the Penguin Historical Atlas of the Vikings by John Haywood. Now, to begin with, I don't know who the tribe of Dan is now. I have no idea. In all my years of study, it's a topic I'm not even touching. Even if I had an idea who I think they are, nothing has been conclusive. What I can safely tell you is that I believe that the Vikings was Dan for a couple of different reasons. First off, when you read the scriptures, it tells you that Dan stayed in ships. And then you also have another scripture that says that Dan was a serpent by the way. Which this book is going to go into how their ships were structured like serpents. And, we're just going to get into it. All right. Let's see. First and foremost, you have to understand where the Vikings come from. They come from 4 major countries, which altogether are considered Scandinavia. That's Finland. That's Finland, Denmark, and 2 other countries. We're gonna figure it out in this book here. Let's see. Everything, I highlighted a lot, but everything here isn't really that important. The term, one thing, page 8, the term Viking has come to be applied to all Scandinavians of the period, but in the Viking age itself, the term Viking applied only to someone who went Viking, that is plundering. So the word Viking meant plundering. Stick-up kids. In this sense, most Viking age Scandinavians were not Vikings at all, but peaceful farmers and craftsmen who stayed quietly at home all their lives. For many others, being a Viking was just an occupation they resorted to for long enough to raise money to buy or otherwise acquire a farm and settle down. Nor were those who went Viking necessarily exclusively Scandinavian. Irishmen, Anglo-Saxons, Franks, Bretons, and Slavs all joined in Viking raids at times. The Viking victims had little difficulty explaining the raids. They were God's punishment on a sinful people. So, according to this, you could see that the Vikings were basically the Most High punishing people that were sinful. Who sins is only Israel, not other nations. All right, let's see. I'm only going to get to the good stuff on the book because you could really go for days and a lot of the stuff isn't really major. Oh, okay, here we go. The homeland of the Vikings was 3 modern Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. And another one being Finland, by the way. The Finland I added, through research, not from this. Let's see. It's got some good stuff on this book. Okay. There is something good artwork-wise here. There's a Scandinavian, a Viking. If you look at him, he's clearly dark-skinned, Now, they had the ability to make art out of things that were white or pale. But why would they make his face out of some black material? And you could clearly see he's Jake. His nose is just bashed in. If you really look close to the picture, you see his nose is actually bashed, bashed in, whatever. All right, but Oh, here we go. It was probably in this way, for example, that the Danes emerged as the dominant people of southern Scandinavia by the 6th century. The Danes were the tribe of Dan. That's why the Denmark is called Denmark. It means Dan's mark. Now, again, I'm not saying that I know who the descendants of the tribe of Dan are today, but we know who they were. Denmark, the smallest country, has the highest proportion of arable land, making the Danes the wealthiest, most numerous, and most politically advanced of the Scandinavians in the Viking Age. This is on page 22. Let's see. It's a lot of stuff, but it's scattered. Page 26. Most Vikings were pagans, and the old gods Thor, Odin, and Freyr lived on in Scandinavia long after much of Europe was Christian. Thor, Thursday. Odin, Wednesday. Freyr, Friday. Those days are named after those false gods. All right, let's see. Now, this book, it doesn't actually come out and say that they were from the tribe of Dan, but you have to go into the spirit of it. And again, you know that the tribe of Dan was proficient with ships, so were the Vikings. And they went to war using ships. All right. Let's see. Here we go. No, that's not that important. Here we go. Here, I got one. The royal, page 40, the royal fleets of the late Viking Age also included much larger dragon ships, such as King Olaf's Tryggvason's Long Serpent. So their ships were like serpents. Right? That goes into how Dan was a serpent, by the way, as it says in Genesis, the 49th chapter. Let's see. There's more. Oh, page 46. The Vikings have become a byword for seaborne terror. Violent raiders descending in their longships to plunder monasteries and butcher peaceful communities of men, women, and children. Okay, because they were the pirates. And then when you go into the book that I wrote about the brief history of the Caribbean, these were those pirates that raided and stole the gold that was supposed to be going to Spain. They were fighting against Spain. And remember, the book told you that a lot of these pirates come from parts of Europe. That's pretty telling. And you see how how history matches up. Because then we read about the Vikings in another book, but it didn't call them Vikings, it called them pirates. Same thing. They were the same thing in history. The Pirates of the Caribbean, those was Vikings. Let's see. Trying to find just the good stuff. Oh, here we go. When Olaf's successor Ivar died in 873, the Dublin Kingdom entered a period of political instability. Because, the Vikings raided Dublin, Ireland. Dublin, which, by the way, is Gaelic for black man. right? So let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of history here. But just to tie in the history, the Vikings settled in Denmark. They're Scandinavians. Saw a picture of one of them or artwork showing that he was dark skinned. So there's a lot of stuff here. A lot of information. Oh, and Greenland too, by the way. Let's see. Oh, no, I'm not going to go into that. That's not very big. Oh, here's another thing. The originators of Russia were Scandinavians, so therefore likely Danites. These Scandinavians, known to their contemporaries as the Rus, gave Russia its name and its first centralized state before adopting the language and lifestyle of their Slavic subjects and the religion and culture of the Byzantines. That's very important. So it says, let's see, is this important? No, but Russia was started by Jakes. Here we go. The Rus must have formed a warrior and merchant elite. This is page 104. But despite a stream of new arrivals from Scandinavia continuing into the 11th century, they became increasingly influenced by the Slavs, with whom they intermarried and allied. A sign of this is the adoption of Slavic names by the ruling dynasty. The first Rus ruler to have a Slavic name, Igor's son, Svetoslav, came into power in 945, and his son Vladimir worshipped the Slavic god Perun before his conversion to Christianity. That's important. Now, here's something even more important. Page 106. By the 860s, Novgorod had emerged as the predominant Rus center under its semi-legendary ruler Rorik, who is commonly regarded as the founder of the Russian state. So Rorik the Viking was the founder of Russia, according to history. All right, let's see. Yeah, the Vikings were fucking fierce, man. They didn't play around. They didn't fuck around. I believe that's it. I mean, the book is a good read. But as anything in history, you got to get through a lot of fluff, a lot of stuff that's not really. Look at this. Dan shall be a serpent by the way. That's one of their serpent boats. Goes to show, man. These people are Israelites. These people was Israelites, and they stayed true to their culture to a degree, except for the fact that they worshiped false gods and idols. But that's it on the book. But just to recap, to make sure everybody's aware, I don't know who the tribe of Dan is today. Historically speaking, they were the Vikings of Scandinavia, who also are the forefathers of the Russian Empire. All right? Perhaps a lot of those Russians over there may be Dan. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and put Dan on the 12 tribe sign and say I figured it out. But historically speaking, the Vikings and the early Russians and the early Norwegians, the early Finlanders, the early Denmark, people from Denmark, and what was the other one? I said Norwegian, Finland, Greenland. Those were the tribe of Dan. But that's it. Like I said, don't start going crazy and bugging out and trying to say you know who Dan is today. It's a topic of a lot of controversy, and honestly, we don't need Dan to get sealed. They're still here. There's still a whole tribe in this world, but we don't know who they are. The best I can tell you today is they're likely mixed among the 10 tribes. Just based on the fact that they are part of the 10 tribes. But with that, I'm gonna say all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to you, brothers, throughout the four corners of the earth, teaching the truth and righteousness and sincerity. To you Israelite foreigners, come back home to the truth. To those that passed away serving the Lord, the dead in Yahushua shall arise first. Shalom.